where the truth comes through from coffee, sips to midnight thoughts. This is where the real talk starts. So take a seat, let's have a chat, table talk, where the real talk's at.
Greetings and salutations. I assume we're live.
We are live.
Okay, well, you didn't say anything, so.
Well, it went back just to show the misses, so I had to fix the layout. Show it both
Oh
of
well,
us.
that
Right.
was lovely.
All of us. All three of us.
It's because I'm special.
Yes.
We'll go with that theory.
Yes.
I'm special, but it's more a short bus time.
I was kind of hoping he wasn't going to go that route with me because, you know,
The steering wheel's missing, the door's missing,
Right.
the wheels fell off.
one of my older brothers used to tell me all the time growing up that I was Helen Keller, so. I was like, but is that necessarily an insult? I don't really think that's necessarily an insult because she accomplished quite a bit.
I mean, touche. Bless her heart.
Right. She's Southern, she knows what that means.
I do. Remember, you come home with me.
I wasn't talking about you, I was talking about Helen Keller.
Oh, well, I mean, no, she accomplished a lot.
She did.
So,
really
you
did.
know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. She accomplished a lot.
Yes.
You do know who we're talking about, right?
I
Yes.
don't think he does.
I've seen pictures. I think I might have drawn on them.
It's possible.
Circles and squares.
Right.
Scribbled on them. You know who that is? No, it's a magazine.
That doesn't surprise me any. And I whispered that, I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, I mean, if he was coloring and not eating the crayons, I mean, it is an accomplishment.
That's true.
No, I was eating the glue.
Were you?
Gotcha.
And he wasn't wearing his helmet.
No,
You gotta wear your helmet.
I lost
know.
it. I lost my helmet. Somebody stole it. This is gonna be an interesting night.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it always is when the three of us get together.
Well,
She acts like we're into some kind of shenanigans.
no. Wait, where are we at?
Right meow. We are on episode 1 of our newest series, Psalms 23.
Yeah, if you've ever been with us for the most previous episodes, no, I do not have 7 minutes. Squirrel. Anyways,
Do you have fevers with those fits?
yes, I do.
Yeah.
My face will turn red here in a minute. We just finished James 3.
Keeping your tongue under control.
Yes, James 1,
Basically.
James 3, 1 and 3. We talked about 1 and 3, talking about how you control your tongue. Pursue the truth, heavenly wisdom. It was convicting. It was challenging. It was honestly, it let a lot of us. Yeah, I mean, it was a good one for me for sure.
I mean, it kind of helped us see our own shortcomings. You know,
Yes.
we focus on other shortcomings a
Yes.
lot. You know, we're easy to point out. Oh, look what you did! But you know, this last series really helped us focus on ourselves and where we can improve.
Well, honestly, scripturally, you know, we are supposed to try to help others. You know, not just, how would you say, like meritly, you know, feed the hungry and so on and so forth. We're also supposed to try to help them out of sin.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and it is very easy to forget about our own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, very. Matter of fact, I think a lot of times we deliberately ignore our own because let's face it is easier to worry about somebody else's problems.
I was like, I can't remember his first name, but I was Driscoll, Mark Driscoll.
Yeah.
He had said something because I was looking for information. He said James 3 quickly reminds you, hey, when you point somebody else's sin out, hey, you need to look in the mirror and look at yourself.
You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And that mirror, oh boy, you
And
start seeing all them flaws.
the thing that gets me is, you know, like before starting this, I was posting sermons, so to speak, and I always tried to keep them vague. You know,
Right.
like we would discuss this topic or these actions or whatever the case may be, but, you know, like I was almost never pointing out a specific group or person or whatever. But I always threw the caveat in there, like, don't bother coming after me about my sin. I'm fully aware, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
God
you
tells me
know.
every day.
Well, and that's the thing, is like a lot of us, we don't act like our sin is a problem. We think we've got it under control, or, you know, we live by grace, but I guess we use it all up for other people. You know, I don't know how that's supposed to work, but, you know, I don't think a lot of people, shall we say, masquerading as Christians are as self-aware as they would like to believe. And granted, that could go for me too. You know, like this isn't something said in judgment. But if you are aware of your sin, it's not hypocritical to point out somebody else's.
No.
You know.
I mean, thank God.
Actually, if you're not aware of your own sin, it's still not hypocritical to point out somebody else's.
No.
It's hypocritical when your sin is somehow okay, but theirs will send them to hell.
Right.
You know.
Right. I mean, and you know, people consider that judging, but it's really not. It's, you know, I go back to the
Well, I mean,
testing the spirit.
it is, but not
it's
in the manner that
that-
people use it as.
Yeah, yeah. It goes back to test the spirit, and you know, the Bible teaches us to, hey, you know, but it, you know, to, what is, I can't remember what the Bible verse is, but I remember reading it, and it was correction. It was about correction.
Oh, yeah.
But it also says, hey, if you bring your gift to the altar and you have a problem with your brother, leave your gift there, go and reconcile with your brother, and then come back.
That sounds like a Paul thing there.
So yeah, I think it's in Matthew, maybe. I can't remember. It's the Beatitudes or I don't remember. It was a Celebrate Recovery thing.
Right,
That
right.
we learned, but I mean, that's a big thing that we tend to forget. You know, he brought up the whole mirror thing, and that was something we talked about in James 3. You know, it's like looking in the mirror, walking away and forgetting what you saw.
Mhm.
You know, that's bad, but, you know, when you look in the mirror and you start seeing those, it feels bad, but that's not necessarily a bad thing to see your faults when you're looking at yourself in the mirror.
Right.
You know, that's actually a good thing. That's growth. That's what God wants us to do.
Yeah, but that's not where the world's at.
No, it's not.
You know,
It's not.
It's live your truth, do your thing, do whatever makes you happy, and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of other self-destructive nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, when he said that, it just made me think, hey, you know, but that's not necessarily a bad thing when we see those flaws. We're to
No.
see the flaws so we can correct the flaws, you know, so we can grow.
Mhm.
That's the whole point of it, which is why we are going into Psalms 23, because, you know, we've talked about, you know, the struggle of controlling our minds and our feelings and, you know, our words and, you know, basically walk in the walk
Mm.
that we're talking. So now it's finding that peace in that. And that's kind of a lot of what Psalms 23 is about, is, you know, finding peace in God and knowing that he's there no matter what,
Mhm.
you know. So, and that's where we're kind of starting out with, is Psalms 23 and verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
What always got me growing up is hearing that line, okay? Because most time when we hear that, it's at a funeral, it's at a solemn, sad event. And you hear, the Lord is my shepherd, okay? I shall not want. And in my mind, it was always, why? It always came across to me as like, how do I word this? It always kind of came into my head as, the Lord is my shepherd that I do not want or should not want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you, of course, growing up and maturing and everything, and you read through the rest of it, it starts making more sense. So for newcomers or anybody that gets as confused as I do, think of it like this. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. You know, that changes the complete understanding.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that I do not want, it's and I will not want.
Right.
You know.
It's about provision.
Yeah.
And however, it is not necessarily like money or it's about anything that we need that God will provide. And it's not wants, it's needs.
Right.
Whether it is, hey, parting those waters so we can get through safely, or just being with us as we go through that storm, or, hey, we're struggling financially and, we get the help that we need there, or we need to, and it could be so many different things that people don't realize.
I can hear it rubbing against my shirt.
That's why I do it.
When people think of God's provision, they think of material.
Generally, that's where most of us in Western society go. It's material, it's financial, monetary. Once you dive into a more Bible-based Christian, it would go into more provisional, like healing, sustenance, and whatnot.
Yep.
But understanding of this comes better with understanding the basis for which it was written. What was David, and David wrote this song, King David. What was he before he was king? What was his job?
He was a shepherd.
He was a shepherd. Okay. What is the job and tasks of the shepherd? What did they do?
Protects the flock.
Protects the flock. If one runs away, what does the shepherd do?
He leaves
Brings
the
it back.
99 for the one.
Yeah.
He carries a rod and a staff. What are they for?
To hook him back.
Well, you have the shepherd's hook,
Yeah.
and the aspect of that is when one starts to wander, you bring it back. But what's the rod for?
Protection.
Fighting off the wolves.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So it is with that sort of understanding that David is writing that the Lord is the ultimate shepherd. His are the sheep, and it's coming from that time, that mindset, so to speak.
Yes. Yep.
So in going through this, we're going to see a lot of analogies that go directly to shepherding. Does that, of course, talking with the audience, does that clarify things? So,
I passed that test. That's all I can think of. Like, I'm being quizzed. I'm being put on the spot. Hang on, let me think. No.
well, and I know I was looking at you, but I'm more thinking out loud.
Well, I'm like directly across from you too, so
Right.
that's why I have to kind of. And when I look at him, I'm like off camera.
I can't
So
put him on the spot, he goes blank.
he does. Sometimes I do too. Though.
No, and I'm not judging, a lot of times I do too.
He's like, and then you never know what's gonna come out of his
Right.
mouth.
I'm like that squirrel in a deer headlight look like, is that a car? Is that, what is it?
Right.
What? Oh, that's
Like
a car.
Lips moving, but nothing's happening, But no, I get it, I don't like being put on the spot either.
Especially when I'm in world over here and I'm paying attention, but I'm not.
Well, there's that, and I know we brought this up, but for those who aren't familiar, we don't rehearse these.
No.
Um,
No.
A lot of times we study, we may or may not come up with notes. Sometimes we do, and we don't use it whatsoever.
But when we
But all of
study,
this is mostly fly by the seat of our pants, in the direction that God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, however, in the Trinity that, or maybe we're just easily distracted and there's Christmas tinsel. Like you can call it whatever you want, but none of this is rehearsed. So when one of us is asking a question or speaking, we don't know what's coming out of the other person's mouth.
we don't.
We are all on a, this is as new to me as it is to y'all.
And when we study individually too. So,
Right.
what you're getting out of it is going to be different than what I get out of it. And, of course, we live together, so we try to share what we get. But, I do my thing, he does his, and we just share what we got.
Understanding still might, you might derive something a little, even if y'all are on the same page, you might be in slightly different corners of the ring.
Right.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
That's the whole,
As long as it's scripturally accurate.
Yeah.
but that's the point of the podcast, though, too, is so we can, like it says, table talk, to come together
Right.
around the table and discuss and talk and learn and just support each other and be there for
Well,
each
not
other.
only that, but understanding
Yeah.
Yes, you can sit down at the house and read your Bible, and should, you know. But your understanding is only gonna take you as far as your comprehension will allow the Holy Spirit in.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that you can't get great divine understanding, but you're gonna get more in discussion with other believers. You're gonna get more, talking to or listening to a pastor or a theologian. You know, let's face it, it is their job to study this.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm not gonna say that they're always correct, because they're not. Man is fallible.
There's been times
And
that
by
we've been
man-
wrong.
Right,
you
and by
know.
man, I mean human.
We try to correct it when we are, but you know, that's why we say,
And
don't
that's
take
the
our
big
word
thing,
for it
you
always. I mean,
know.
if you question it, go look it up and
I-
let us
I
know.
myself have misrepresented the scripture, the Holy Spirit and all that, and, you know, I've had to send those texts, like, hey, I was completely in left field, my apologies, you know, like, shouldn't have happened, it did, my understanding, and, you know, sometimes you get emotionally involved, and, you know, that's a completely different topic, but, you know.
Yeah.
But we have discussed that too, don't let your feelings do your thinking for you,
Yep. Yep.
you know.
But you know, and we're also, you know, we're open to hear conversation from the people who are watching too, you know, and if you got a different point of view or something sticks out to you, leave it in the comments. That's
Yeah.
what this is about. This is about coming together as, you know, brothers and sisters of Christ and just learning and growing together.
Well, and the caveat that gets me, and I will say this for the viewing audience, there are folks out there that, they cannot seem to see any other thing than what they themselves see or believe. So if you agree with them, then you are correct, and if you disagree, and I don't even mean like a complete contradiction, I mean not in 100% total agreement, then you're wrong. If you are one of those individuals, you are welcome to chat and complain. I don't know that you'll get the response that you're after, you know.
Well, we'll make it a fun time.
Well, and that's the thing, and I throw that caveat out there, it's not to specifically argue, but I'm not one of them people that you can come at and say, you're wrong, and expect that to be the end of the conversation. You're gonna have to show me where I'm wrong and prove to me where I'm wrong. And if it's a situation where I am factually wrong, then this should be easy to point out. But if it's based on interpretation and understanding, you're gonna have your work cut out for you.
I need some evidence.
Well, not only that, but the greater leaps of faith that are in your rationale, the farther you are from the truth, you know, and that goes for me too, you know. The closer to the word that you can get, and I'm just gonna make up something out of the blue here, but, you know, like if we tried to say, drinking water is unscriptural, you know, and I'm making this up.
Right.
Okay, if we said that and you said, well, it is scriptural, here's the verses that support that, okay. But I'm gonna throw you the verses that don't support it. And if we can't agree on how you reconcile that, because you have to take the scripture as a whole, you don't get to pick, none of us get to pick the verses that we like and ignore the ones that don't agree with us. You know, you have to be able to rationalize the whole of it, you know? And so that's my caveat, you know? And I do believe that the Bible is true cover to cover. I don't believe it holds contradictions. I believe the contradictions are based on our understanding of it.
Yep.
You know, like the contradictions aren't in the Bible, they're in our interpretation and understanding. And some of it is going to be in the changing of language and the way people write and communicate, not only between languages, but across time.
Right.
You know, because we're gonna read Psalm 23 in English, and there's, 50 English translations, and I'm just making a random number, there's a lot of English translations. But I speak neither Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic, and most people today would not speak the Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic that was spoken at that time. So we're doing the best we can, give us a break.
Yep. So So I'm reading over my notes, and of course you kind of jumped right into the shepherd thing.
And I'm gonna have to add one last thing in here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm doing my best.
Of course, my notes started out, who is the Lord?
Right.
And you kind of jumped into, the shepherd, which is later on down, but, that made me think, okay, there's a whole nother series there.
Yes.
The names of the Lord,
Yes.
And it's saying, he, whenever you see Lord capitalized, like all caps like it is, then it's, the covenant name of Yahweh
Mhm.
is what it's saying, and so that's the one that, that's the God who revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush. I am,
That
you
I
know,
am.
yes.
You know.
And so, you've got that. He's the creator. He's, there's so many things that he is, but this is talking about the shepherd,
Right.
So yeah, that kind of like, sorry, you kind of skipped ahead there,
No,
but.
no.
So a little backstory
hey,
on
we
that.
don't practice this, all right?
I know. We never know. But yeah, and so I think that will be a whole good series to do too. At some point, the names.
Well, at some point, we could probably do, I don't know if it could be, of course, we could turn it into a series, but Psalm 22, 23, and 24 all were linked, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure it's got us going over everywhere.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
then-
it says in ancient Israel, being a shepherd wasn't a romantic, peaceful job. It was gritty, exhausting, and dangerous. So that kind of goes into the staff and the
Oh, yeah.
shepherd's hook, because sheep have zero internal compass.
Boy, that sounds
I know
familiar.
that feeling. Like it says, sheep have zero internal compass. If left to themselves, rely not on their own
Right,
understanding,
right.
they will walk right off a cliff.
Mhm.
How many cliffs have you walked off of?
Several.
Yeah. Or wander straight into danger. And they must be constantly guided to
Talking
safe
about
paths.
left to our own devices, we jump into that head first with both feet.
Yes.
You know.
Because we think we know better.
Well, yeah. That's something, I don't know how many times I've had to, are you stupid? Yes.
Have you met me? Because I
Right.
have.
What's that meme? What's the stupidest thing you've ever done?
Yes.
Awful brave of you to assume I've peaked.
So this is interesting because you're usually the history person. Like
Do your thing.
the history, like, and I think that's why we work well together, because we all know different aspects of this stuff. But you're really big into history, so this is interesting. Talking about the provision part of it, and this will go into the laying down and the green pastures. So Israel was rocky and very like rough ground, rigid. It says arid, but I don't even know what that means. But okay. But I'm assuming
Colorado, Arizona,
yeah. And so finding green pastures and clean water required the shepherd to know the land perfectly and to lead the flock in it. So, that kind of goes back into the metaphor of, Jesus is our shepherd.
I assume y'all have watched that movie Kingdom of Heaven.
Yes.
There's a scene in there when the Muslim army is going to be coming to attack Jerusalem. And, they bring up, well, how long is it going to take them? A couple of days, because they are going from water hole to water hole. And I bring that up specifically. They knew the lay of the land. If you back up one chapter on the DVD, the Christian army decimated themselves because they marched straight across the desert and most of them were dead before they ever got to the battle. They didn't know the lay of the land. They didn't know where the watering holes were, where clean water versus tainted water might have been. And I think anybody who's watched that would be a good representation of what we're speaking now. A way to wrap your head around, the difference in knowing your terrain, knowing the lay of the land, and like the historical aspect. That was a huge problem when we got involved in Vietnam. They're fighting on home turf.
Yeah.
We don't, we don't know the lay of the land. There's trees, there's mountains. That's, it's hot. We're done. That's all we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean you know, it's kind of interesting for that because you don't really, when you read the scripture, sometimes you don't realize
Oh, I see
how
that now.
things were then.
Right.
You know, like we base it off of what we see now.
Well,
You know, a lot of times.
a lot of times we do, and we have this, I know they've got a term for it, but we try to view history and the sins and mistakes of the past, or even the victories of the past, through a modern lens and understanding.
Yes, I call it tunnel vision. Like we're focused on what's right
Well,
here in
and
front
a lot
of
of
us.
times it is, but it's also a severe lack of comprehension,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I get ticked, like Jordan Peterson pointed out, and I don't remember how he worded it. It's like, if you don't understand, like, how what the people of Nazi Germany or Mao's China were like, they were just like you. You know, there was some characters who were, you know, evil, I think would be a good word for it, but the majority of the populace were going with the flow. What was easier? Were they scared? I mean, let's go back to pandemic times. How many people were making a lot of decisions based on fear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and for that matter, how many people were deciding what other people should do based on fear?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's really no different. We don't understand the human psyche like we think we do.
Yeah.
You know, from a historical standpoint, we would look back now and say, hey, these folks were evil. Everybody in there was evil. No, a handful of them were probably evil. Everybody else did what they were told, or what fear and emotion compelled them to do, or even ambition for that matter, you know. And the thing that a lot of people just can't wrap their heads around is some of the biggest atrocities that have ever happened in the history of mankind was for the greater good. You know, I don't agree with it, but that was the motivation, that there was some, you know, like the end justifies the means.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you mentioned, my adoration of history, when I hear parallel language like that in modern times, you know, makes me very nervous,
Yeah.
you know. But, back on topic.
Sorry, our
No,
kids are
that's-
trying to help us check on sound and stuff. So.
Yeah.
In Italian? No. Okay. Whatever. Okay. So yeah, and it kind of goes into that he's our shepherd and we're the sheep.
Mhm.
So it's kind of talking about that, and you know, it breaks that down so we have a better understanding what the beginning of this verse actually means.
I can just imagine a bunch of sheep roaming around a field, bumping into each other like, dude, I'm walking here, walking here.
Right.
We should have had Gabe on here for this one. He's been trying to wrestle sheep all week to get into another
Yeah.
pen. He's like, they are not cooperating. They will not go to where the food is.
No.
He's like, it's right there.
There are certain animals that, you know, like a lot of times horses or cows, bison, they follow the leader. You know, if the leader, you know, is heading this way, then the rest will kind of follow. They are a herd flock animal to its truest sense. I mean, look at humanity. How many people do because somebody said so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sheep are different. They're more like squirrels.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of random. They're all over the place. I've never been a shepherd of sheep. The closest I can say of my true understanding of sheep probably is wool. I just really haven't been around them a whole lot.
Yeah, he's kind of dog sitting and animal sitting for friends of his that are out of town, and
Right.
they're paying him, and he's like, they wanted me to put them in this other pen, and they're just not going. I don't know what to do. I'm like, just leave them where they're at for now. I mean, it's about the storm. You got to get home.
Well, I mean, he might be able to separate a few off from the herd, and instead of trying to get them all to go, just, we've got these 5 in there, and now we're gonna go get another 5.
Yeah,
You
like,
know?
and I don't know how many they have. I don't think they have that many.
Well,
but-
and I don't know,
yeah,
and
but it was comical because he's like, they are not cooperating.
but you know, like you get into American prairie days and whatnot.
Yeah.
Most sheep and goat herders had trained dogs to help.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, which the dogs I'm sure absolutely loved.
So when we're looking at this, and if you think back, the Bible, look at all the verses in the Bible. What animal are humans, mankind, called most in the Bible? We're not lions. We're not eagles. We are sheep.
Most of the time, you know, there are individual passages where, you know, we shall fly on wings like the eagles and
Yes.
whatnot. There are individual passages based on circumstance.
Yes.
But yeah, throughout, yeah, we are really,
Identified as sheep.
yeah,
You know, so when we're talking about how fitting that is for him going through that.
oh yeah.
And that was just yesterday, day before, like, so this has been recent. So I'm like, oh, that's
Thursday before the storm come rolling.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is gonna like work.
Well, and that's where you
perfectly for
pointed
the-
out, it's like,
Yeah.
try being a parent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and all I
Come
can
eat
think
dinner. I'm
is-
playing a game right now.
Right.
And all I can think is God's looking down on us, and we have that same mentality. Like, I want you to go here, but you're like still standing over here. Like, the food is over here. Like, come, I'm trying to provide for you over here.
I heard a pastor say once, and for those listening, we are in the what we call the heartland area. We're in western Kentucky, but we are in an area that within an hour's drive you can be in Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, almost Indiana. And depending on if there was a more direct way to travel, you can probably be in Arkansas in close to an hour. So we are in an area of, you know, several states coming together in a relatively small spot. And I heard a pastor say once that if the Lord has ordained that you're going to go, let's say, to Memphis,
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get to Memphis. Now, you can get on the highway and turn south and go straight to Memphis, or you can go to Chicago, New York, Iowa, Des Moines. You can do all of that, but you're still going to end up in Memphis. You know? And honestly, I think that's what a lot of what we're doing as Christians is like. You know, we're going every direction except the one that we should be going.
Yep.
And the stupid thing is, like, we're still going to get to the same place eventually.
No, Chris.
Oh.
Grace is saying hi to Chris.
Oh.
Hi, sweetie.
Um, yeah, sorry.
Kids
See?
still won't talk to me in person.
No, she won't. She's
You
looking
know.
at you like, I don't know who you are, but I see you all the time and yell Chris all
Right.
the time on the screen. Oh, that kid. It just, reading some of this about, because it actually describes, how a sheep is and all that, and like how you kind of see why God calls us sheep. And, he's a shepherd because we are so much like him. Like,
In a lot of ways, yes.
they're incredibly vulnerable. They have no natural defense mechanisms. No camouflage, no fangs, no armor. They're not fast runners. Well, we know if I'm running, something's wrong, so you better be running too.
Right.
They are,
And it's not for donuts.
they're easily spooked.
I'm only going to run for certain donuts.
Yes.
You know, like I don't care when the light comes on at the major chain. That does not impress me.
Don't press me much.
There's a few places around here that, and I don't want to call out names. There's a few places around here where I truly enjoy their donuts. There's some other places where, like, I probably won't go there and buy a donut, but if somebody has a box of them, I'll help myself.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a little shop in Gatlinburg. Yeah, I'll run for them donuts. I will. You know, it might be stupid, but it is what it is. I love the place.
But yeah,
But-
and it says that if a sheep falls on its back, it becomes cast. Like, it can't flip itself back over.
So it's
you
like a
have to
turtle.
Help it up. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I was
didn't
not
know that
aware of
either.
that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, it cannot flip itself back over and will die without the shepherd intervening. Now, when I say that we're a lot like sheep, I'm not meaning physically. Well, some of us might be physically. I know some of that. If I'm falling, I can't get up. I'm just saying.
Right, right.
Yeah, I need a crane, forklift.
For
It's on the
me,
list.
it really depends on how not as much of the fall as much of the position.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
If I'm falling on ice, forget it. My legs are.
I say this more in, like I said, a metaphorical way. It's not necessarily a physical thing,
well,
more of
and-
a mental,
well, even scripture referring to that in and of itself is a metaphor.
Yeah.
So
But I mean,
you
like
know.
when I say we're a lot like sheep, that's what I mean.
Very
I'm not,
much,
Not saying
and-
that our body, like we can't fight and fend for ourselves. It's more of on a
Right.
spiritual level.
No. The downside is that it gets more literal than what we like to admit.
Yes.
Right.
It is said metaphorically, yes, but when you start pulling on the threads and drawing the tangents, yeah, do we run around like chickens with our head cut off? Yes, we do.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
not metaphorical.
I know some of this I can relate to physically too. I'm just saying.
Right, right.
A lot of it though is mental, more emotional, more that side of it is what
Right.
we relate to the most as being the sheep and Jesus being our shepherd, because we need him for that spiritual side.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what it is. So that's where it comes into the Lord is my shepherd. He is making a profound admission of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like basically without him I am defenseless. Without him I am lost. I need constant care, and thankfully I have a caregiver who never sleeps.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of breaking down that little bit. That very first part of that verse kind of gives us an idea of backstory, I guess.
Right.
An understanding of what this is actually referring to and meaning a deeper dive into it. Because we read this. I've read this many times in my life. And you don't really think about, like you said, I shall not want. We're like, oh, well, I'll never want for anything because,
Right.
he's my shepherd. But that's not really, or I can't want, or I'm not supposed to want. It just means that he's going to provide for us like he's supposed to.
There are certain passages, and for all of us on an individual level, it's going to vary because all of us understand things differently or comprehend at a different speed and level. But like Psalms 23, Psalm 91, the Lord's Prayer, there's certain individual things out there that your understanding of it will probably not be complete. Well, I don't know if it'll ever be complete, but you're going to be on a very limited understanding unless you start picking apart that individual passage line by line and sometimes word for word, to actually start scooping and digging what is it he's actually trying to convey. And there's times I love doing that, like we're going to pick us apart, like we're going to pick at this like a fried fish fillet, like we're getting all the meat off the bone, and being delicate with it, like we're not just jumping into a stack of ribs, like we want to get every bit of that meat off of there, but we don't want to eat the bone,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, how many times do we read the Bible just to it's just words? Like we
A
don't
lot of
read it to understand. We don't read it. It's just, oh, I've read the Bible,
Well, and that's where a lot of it is, and don't get me wrong, reading the Bible even out of just habit is
good.
still better than nothing.
Yes.
But we should be reading to understand and comprehend. We should be, like I say it repeatedly on here, we should be reading it to learn and understand and to take correction. We should not be reading it to confirm what we thought we already believed. I mean, we need to be reading it as an instruction manual more than validation.
Right. Yeah.
Which
we can
again, in
take-
Western society, people don't know how to do that.
Right. And I know since we've started this, doing this podcast, I love the fact that we're doing it because we are doing more of that deep dive into what it actually means. I've read the Bible all the way through, beginning to end. I made it through it
Right.
in a little over a year, and I just completed it at the beginning of this year. And but I read it to say, hey, I've actually read it because I've never done that before.
Right.
And I'm like, that's something I probably need to do. At least to get a good start. Let's read it, and then when I read it through the next time, then I can do a deeper dive. Because
Right.
at least reading it through, I have some basic understanding.
Well,
of
and
it.
and in that, like what I would tell people is, if your tism doesn't kick in, if you want to read the Bible covered, like if somebody was going to do exactly what you just said, I want to read the Bible through and then I want to go back and try to understand. Fine. That first reading through, look up the order and read it chronologically so you know what's happening in the timeline.
I did it backwards. I'm reading it through it chronologically now, and I'm like, oh, this is
Right.
making so much more sense.
And honestly, that's been my trouble with getting through the prophets. I can better understand like what you would call the minor prophets, Jonah, because it's talking about a more specific event.
Yeah.
Daniel is written very well because he explains, hey, this is where we're at, this is who's king, and this is what we're talking about. It for me, it helps with the understanding if I can. Some of the other prophets, a lot of what they write doesn't directly tie to anywhere in the timeline. You have to start searching it out elsewhere. Like you're in First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, trying to figure out.
It jumps a lot, and I mean, I know with me,
Right.
right now that's where I'm at. I'm in the Kings and Chronicles, and it goes from Kings to, Chronicles to even with David. It's like,
Yeah, and it chronicles, and that's what
Psalms,
screwed
and then
me
back
up.
again, and then but doing it the
Well, and that's what
chronological.
screwed me up is going through those. Hey, this person was king of Judah. This person was king of Israel, and I'm like, we haven't even got to the spot in the Bible where Israel was divided yet.
Yeah.
When does that happen? After Solomon dies.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's 15 books away.
Well, I have the YouVersion Bible app,
Right.
and there's actually a plan that you can start and read the Bible in a year in chronological order.
Right. Right.
And so that's what I like. I'm reading it now, and I'm like, okay, so this is making more sense because it's in order. I understand that it was separated by, the original is separated based on genre. I would
Genre,
say genre.
genre, context,
topic, I guess, yeah.
um,
You got your gospels, you got this, and you got that, and I
Right.
understand that that's why it's
And-
broke
and I
up, 'cause
do-
they're doing like items together.
well, and it does make more sense to divide, shall we say, the Old Testament from the New Testament. But for me, it's like, if you go through the Bible book list, Job is what, right before Psalms?
I think so. I think.
But Job actually takes place at the tail end of Genesis, chronologically.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, why isn't that way up there?
Your Torah, is it the Torah that's first?
Right.
And so there's only certain chapters or books that are part of that, and it's the way they break it up, yeah.
Right.
But yes, I mean, in reading it both ways, I think, you can get an understanding of how it's broke apart. The original way, but then doing it chronological order, you have more of an understanding timeline-wise of how
Right.
things actually went down. And especially if I'm not a big history person, you are, that probably helps you a lot more.
Oh,
with that,
yeah,
too.
yeah. Having the timeline helps, and understanding, it's like, I was telling somebody not too long ago, like the four Gospels take place simultaneously, They are four different accounts from four different people about the same topic. Now, they do kind of lean into different,
Some of the stories are different.
well, it's not just that, but like the book of John would be focused more about the love of Christ, where the book of Matthew would be a little differently focused. But you've got four stories about the same person in the same timeline.
Yeah.
But then you get to the book of Acts. Well, the book of Acts takes place over like 20, 30 years. That is a collection that took place. So then when you get into like 1st and 2nd Peter or Corinthians or whatever the case may be, a lot of those epistles were taking place during Acts.
Right.
So understanding that aspect will help with the understanding of reading the Bible. You know, that the Gospels, they fall on this time frame, but Acts is not, I mean, it is next chronologically, but the epistles don't come after Acts. A lot of them actually happen during Acts, you know, and stuff like that. Like I said, some of this stuff I read and the tism kicks in, and one eye goes off into left field somewhere, because my brain is struggling to understand, but also to draw the lines and the strings to pin it together. And you know, like if I just start reading Isaiah, I have no idea. I mean, I know Israel's doing wrong because that's the general assumption of the prophets is, you know, they're screwing up and he's trying to warn them, you know.
Yep.
But I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who was king during that time period. What specifically were they doing wrong? You know, because.
The prophets and the judges, that's pretty much.
Right, right. Well, I mean, the judge aspect, now that actually does take place prior to like King David and King Saul.
Because they didn't want king. Or after the judges, when they're like, oh, well, now we want a king. And he's like, you know, why? Because basically, I am your king. So why do you want a king?
That, again, to me, that goes back to the whole idea of the sheep and the shepherd aspect. God's design was never for us to have a king here on earth. We were supposed to follow God. I know it sounds like a broken record, but when Jesus was asked, which is the greatest of the commandments, you love God above everything else, and you love your neighbor as yourself. If we can accomplish those two things, the law is complete. You know, like you're not going to upset anything in the law if you can do those two things to a biblical context, not a worldly context, but to a biblical context. There would be no need for a high king, so to speak. There would be no aspect of, you know, now I get modern times with governments trying to do trade deals and whatnot. Yeah, there does need to be a certain hierarchy. You know, we don't need the whole of Great Britain sending petitions over here and then every single American giving their opinion on it. That just sounds like chaos to me.
Yeah.
So there's certain aspects in modern times that I get it. I don't always like it, but I get it. But then, back then, they were a nation created and founded by God. That God was in charge. God was the authority. God was the shepherd, but he was also king, ruler, Lord, however many names you want to put to it. Why was there an aspect of judges? You had to have somebody that understood and knew the law to make decisions outside of, you know, like if me and you had a disagreement of sorts, if I stole your sheep, well, me and you, if we couldn't settle it between ourselves, we had to go find somebody who was impartial. You know, that's where judges come into play. And hopefully you don't get the one that killed a bunch of people with a donkey jaw. You know.
That kind of goes back into the, you know, you're talking about the worldly things and, you know, wanting a king and God's supposed to be our king. It goes back to the I shall not want.
Right.
You know, kind of topic there. And it's like, okay, you know, and you touch base on it in our modern world. It seems impossible not to want something. Like, we want the newest car, the newest phone, the newest tech, the this and that. Like, we are consumed with materialistic things.
We really are.
That's funny you brought that up. Yeah. Where are you going with it? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, do your thing.
What was I talking about today with the Cobalt? The Cobalt's got a broken spring.
And needs brakes and some other things.
It's sitting like this.
Right.
I'm like,
he's like, there's a car there at the work. It's like $2,500. We don't need another payment. Just fix that. Like, how much is it gonna cost to fix it? How much is it gonna cost to fix the van? Like, $250 if that's what's wrong with it. I'm like, It's a good start. That's better than $2,500. Like we just took on a loan for a new car because Gabe had to have a car. Like,
Right, right.
you know, I want a new car.
You know, there's a certain aspect of it that I do believe is in human nature.
Yeah.
Um,
The easy way out.
well, it's not only that, but
It's really not the easy way if you're putting yourself more
there
in debt.
there's that. You know, a lot of times we are so focused on the immediate that we don't look
It's-
5 or 10 years into the future.
It's the quick fix.
That's where a lot of times we're at. And what I will say here in the United States, we have a conundrum, and I don't know what the right answer is. All right.
Yeah.
Well, on this wanting thing.
Yeah.
Because what we want is good paying American jobs.
Yes. I agree.
But when we get paid, we want to buy the cheapest foreign made stuff that we can. Well, we're not going to have good paying American jobs if there's not a market for whatever we're producing.
Right.
If we are buying, you know, and I'm not opposed to foreign made vehicles, but we're not going to have good paying American jobs if we're sending all of our money overseas.
Yeah.
You know, now if we can compete at a reasonable aspect, fine. You know, like I have no problem with that. But look at how many people fuss about we need good paying American jobs, and most of their shopping is done on Amazon. You know, how much of it is coming from overseas and not here? Temu, what's some of them other places? And
AliExpress. Yeah.
right, and I'm not saying that in
TikTok.
judgment. I'm
Shein.
simply saying, now don't get me wrong.
I've shopped
I'm not
any of
giving
them.
there's certain aspects. Like I'm not giving $80,000 and $90,000 for a new truck. I'm not going to do it.
No, that's
I wouldn't
ridiculous.
care if I had the money. You know, like if I could drop cash, I'm still not giving that much for a truck because, and nothing against the workers who built it or anything like that. I'm old enough to remember that the same truck that they're selling for $80,000 now was maybe 16 to 20 years ago.
Yep.
We have had a huge expansion of inflation in the last 20 years.
And it run better back then.
There's that too.
They were
And
better quality built then.
well, here's where I'm at. I would put $20,000 to $30,000 into a '70s and prior vehicle before I drop 80 or 90 on
Heartbeat.
something modern.
Yes.
You know, but at the same point in time, to me, that's also feeding the conundrum.
Yeah.
Except a lot of them parts for a '60s or '70s vehicle, you can't buy overseas.
No.
You know, but that is where we're at in America. We want good paying jobs, and then when it comes to spending our money, we want to spend as little as we possibly can. And I get it. But you're not going to have good paying American jobs if American companies can't compete. You know, and if we're giving all of our money to foreign interests, what does that say about American jobs? You know?
Yeah.
And we can fuss all day long about the minimum wage needs to be this or that or whatever, but again, if all of our money is going elsewhere, you're actually contributing to the problem.
Yeah.
You know? And again, like I said, I'm not hating on anybody that buys a Toyota, you know, like it's a good car. You know.
I may or may not have a slight Temu issue of shopping.
And a lot of us do. Don't get me wrong. I'm just as guilty as everybody else.
But I also shop here a lot too. Like, I mean,
Well, and like there's certain
I think
things.
most of my money is spent here, not overseas.
Right. It really sank into me. I was watching a video the other day, and see, there's a certain BC Rich guitar that I want, and yeah, it's a want, which I'm going to ignore the part where that ties into what we're talking about. But I've been keeping an eye on their website. They have not built one in several years. I'm not very good about buying them used. Okay. But I found a video where they were interviewing, I guess, the owner or CEO or somebody very high up at BC Rich. They're back up and running. They had, I guess, shut down or been bought out or whatever, but they're now back up and running. And their CEO made the comment, was talking about like Guitar Center. It is a chain, but it's also a brick and mortar store. We need places like that. I mean, we need to shop at places like that because it's going to get to a point, just like Sears and Kmart and some of these other ones, where if all of our shopping happens online, these brick and mortars close. And you won't, like from a guitar player's aspect, you won't get the opportunity to play one. You just have to buy it and order it and hope for the best, because let's face it, the mom and pop stores are shutting down also.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, I would rather shop at a mom and pop than I would a big chain. Like on my motorcycle stuff, parts is one thing, but accessories, leather gear, there's a local store in Aurora. I would rather buy from him as long as he can reasonably compete on price for the same product.
Right.
And if he's a little higher, fine. But I would rather buy from him than go online.
Right.
To me, it's supporting local business, and I don't want to pay twice the price. But if it's a little higher, I'll deal because I would rather do that. I would rather him be in business than me having to order everything online. But back to this.
I mean, this applies to this because it's talking about how the advertising industry it spends billions of dollars, so we always feel like we need more.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and
Well, you gotta keep up with the Joneses.
We're lacking in some sort because we don't have this and we don't have that, and
It goes all the way back to the garden.
Yes. Yes.
You can have everything you want except this one thing.
But
And
I
what do
want
we do?
that.
We focus on the one
we
thing.
can't have. Yeah.
What do people say about the like 80-20 rule? And which really heavily applies in relationships. You'll get the 80 and you'll worry about the 20, and then you'll leave the person that gives you 80 for the person that only brings the 20 that you was not getting. We really are dumb sheep.
Yeah.
We are, yeah. We are, I mean, wholly ignorant. For whatever reason, we cannot see past about the third or fourth step.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of us can see past about the first or second. But for some that do actually try to be rational, our sight is still only limited.
Right.
We're still only going to see so far. Where God, God sees the whole thing play out. He knows what choice we're going to make. We don't understand, how many things have come around in the last 5 years that ties back to something that took place maybe 15 or 20 years ago, that it makes sense now. But you wondered then why you was being picked on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's because we can't see past step 1 or 2, and don't get me wrong, I mean, that's everybody. Like nobody can see step 20. And if they could, I want to be friends.
Right.
Simply, like we're going to go to the casino. I made that comment the other day. We had a 30% chance of rain. Downpour. I'm like, I'm going to take that meteorologist to the casino. I'm like, because if this is a 30% chance, we're hitting that roulette table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
And then you get the 90% and you get nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's sunshine, 95,000 degrees right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cooking egg on the hood.
So, we focus a lot on what we can get in materialistic stuff. And,
Yes.
But David, we need to be more like him. He looks at his life, he's like, I have everything I need. Like, God provides everything that I need. And so it goes into the I shall not want. It doesn't mean that we're going to get every luxury item that we want or, hey, well, look at that new car. I want that, so I'm going to get that. That's not what it means by I shall not want. God's going to provide.
Right.
That is not what God's going to provide for us. I mean, He could, but that's not.
If you want to feel a real kick in the pants on Western culture, look up what the Bible says about borrowing and paying interest. Because that's where Western society, we are on as individuals, our lives are run on debt.
Yes.
You know, Scripturally, that's a no-no. And don't get me wrong, most people simply don't have. I mean, what is the average price of a home in America? Like
Now.
200 and something thousand.
Yeah.
Easy.
Most of us don't have that laying around, and if we did, the government would flag it.
I mean,
Yeah.
a single
You know.
wide mobile home now is 75,000 and up.
And up,
Easy.
yeah.
Easy. Um, yeah, I mean, my aunt bought $100,000, a basic single wide home.
That
Three
was probably
bedrooms.
30 grand 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, we did ours land contract, but we got
Right.
the land, like almost 2 acres of land, the home and a pool and a storage building. For
Right.
40,000, of course,
Mhm.
interest on that because we may actually make his payments.
Right.
His bank payments. But but he was selling it to us for at the time
For buyout, yeah.
for buyout 40,000. And like I'm sitting there thinking, who can afford a new place right now? Like,
Right.
I know we can't, but I know that if it's what needs to happen, then God will provide for us because that is something that is a need. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that goes back into, we don't, it's not about the luxury stuff that we desire or want. It's, divine sufficiency is how they put it. It was put
Right.
in my studies. But, and it means that Yahweh is in charge of our lives. What we have right now is exactly what we need for right now.
Right.
If the shepherd hasn't given it to you yet, you either don't need it or it's not time for it. Contentment isn't having everything you want. It's realizing how much you already have in the presence of the shepherd. And, I kind of copy and pasted some of the stuff that I studied on this, and like that right there, that's something that we all need to.
Oh yeah. I mean, like we said, we spend so much time focused on what we don't have that we spend almost no effort on what we already do.
Because like you said, we gotta keep up with the other people. Like they have all this fancy stuff. Well, we need that too, then. But it's not actually a need. We think it's a need.
Well,
but it's not a need.
we've all been around that Debbie Downer. And I can remember having a conversation where, I can only listen to so much before I lose my crap, to be honest with you. Now I'll generally start out nice, but when I see it's a losing effort, I try different tactics and show my rear end a little bit. But I remember having a conversation, and that's kind of how it went. And I finally was like, have you ever thought about just changing your focus to what you do have instead of what you don't?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what have I got? Well, you're not dead.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not alive. I'm like, well, what's your option? I'm like, you are listing out this whole list of problems and whatnot, which I get it. They're problems. I'm not saying that they're not.
You woke up this morning.
Yeah, but you woke up this morning and you have an opportunity to do something about it. I promise you, if you're dead, you can't fix none of it. You have no chance of it getting better in this life if you die. And I don't know how to tell folks this in a polite, easy manner, but if you don't have your crap right with your soul and with Jesus, it ain't gonna get better when you die.
Nope.
We really need to stop pretending that everything this world has to offer is as good as it gets or as bad as it gets. This world is, what's the right word? Transitionary?
It's not going to be here forever.
No.
We can't take none of this stuff with us.
Not a bit.
None of this is going with us when we go.
None of it.
I mean, we're worried and we're stressing. I mean, a lot of us stress about this kind of stuff, like to the point that it makes us sick. Oh, but I need that, I need that, I need that. And we don't stop and think, is it really a need?
Most time it's not.
It's not, but like I said, the marketing, the worldly stuff. Society has made all of this stuff such a big thing that it makes you feel like, well, if I don't have it, then I'm missing out on something.
I ran across an interesting reel this morning, and it to me it ties into what we're discussing at this present. It was a comedian talking about it, but he said, "Why do pharmaceutical companies advertise to the general public on TV? We're not doctors, and now they might be advertising a product for a problem that we may or may not have. We still can't go get it.
No.
A doctor has to write you a prescription for it. Why aren't they advertising simply to doctors? And the analogy he brought up is, do you ever see them advertise transmission parts to the general public on TV? Most of us have a transmission, but we're not smart enough to fix it. And they know that, so they don't advertise transmission parts on general TV. Even if we have the problem that the pharmaceutical company is putting out there, we're not doctors. We don't know if that'll help us or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really makes me, stop and think about it. Like a lot of these wants and whatnot, the advertising market. On that aspect, they're advertising to people that can't even access their product. But that's why a lot of our prices are so dang high, because we're paying for their advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it might be a higher medication cost than, something else that would work. So we're gonna go to our doctor. Hey, I saw this and we
On
need
TV,
that.
yeah.
We need that. Tell me about that. And
And the side effects are just as bad as.
I know some of these side effects, and I'm like, I think I'll just not take it. Like, I think I'm gonna be better off without
If
it.
experience this, tell your doctor, and like, why am I taking this medicine again?
Right.
Like, and my favorite is when it's like a mood stabilizer or an antidepressant. It might cause major depression. Like, that's the whole point in taking it, so I'm not depressed.
Right.
Like, why would it, it makes no sense to me. It might
May
cause
cause
me to be
suicidal
depressed.
thoughts.
Well, the stupid thing, if we go to our family doctor, we'll use the scenario that you're talking about. I have depression. I wanted this medication for depression. It's making my depression worse. Okay, so 3 days into it, your depression is worse. How long is it going to take you to get back in to talk to your doctor to get it changed?
At least 2 weeks.
Here's the part that I love. I remember going and getting my blood pressure dealt with. I went. They wrote me a prescription, wanted to see me in a week.
When they say don't take it if you're allergic. How do you know if you're allergic
right,
if you've
right.
never taken it?
No, that is
Yep.
very correct. But I remember going. They wrote me a script. Come back and see us in a week. We want to check. They wrote a month's prescription. I paid for a month's prescription. In a week I come back. They didn't like the results. They changed said prescription. This went on like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, why? I'm like, technically I have about 4 months worth that I have to flush down the toilet. I don't understand why I have to pay to be a guinea pig.
Right.
That part I don't
or
get.
prescribe me just enough for that week, and then if that don't work, then I'm not out all this money, because they can do that, and you can pay just for that week.
Well, and that's, well, not only that, but every time I came back was another office visit. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's my thing, is like, I've worked, as you in the technical field, you don't charge somebody every time they bring you your car.
No.
You charge them diagnostic time, and if they choose to repair it, that is your fee. But if the repair doesn't work, you don't charge them to come back.
No.
Now if there was something that was progressive, that was not directly related, you work out a deal on that one. But if somebody brings their car in for a coolant leak, and you tighten a hose clamp, and 3 days later they call and it's still leaking from that same spot, you cannot charge them for that at that point.
Nope.
But the medical field will,
Yep.
you know, and I'm going to change the subject because I'm going to get myself upset on that.
Your
because,
feelings.
well, it's the only profession where you can get by with that.
Yeah.
You know, a mechanic can't do that. An electrician can't do that. A plumber can't do that.
Nope.
Your optometrist can't get away with that. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But that is the only profession where you pay them to treat you like a lab rat.
Yep.
You know, and I don't think it's right. I really don't.
So
But here we are, and we wonder why things cost too dang much.
I'm almost to the end of my notes, so we're like,
Well, we're about close to the end of time, so we're good.
okay. I want to make sure
Yeah, we got 30 minutes.
where we were at. So it's got, and I kept this in here too because I thought this is, you know, let's think about ourselves. That inner reflection. This goes very well with that. So are you trying to be your own shepherd? Which we touched base
Most
on
of the
a little-
time we are, yeah.
we touched base on this, and this is something for everybody to kind of think about. Are we trying to be our own shepherd? Are we trying to provide for ourselves? Are we trying to say, hey, this is what we need, this is what we need, this is what we need, instead of actually looking at what we actually need? You know,
I'll mess you up with a better one. Are you or are we as individuals trying to determine what is good or evil?
oh, yeah.
What is morally right or wrong?
We
Because at the
discussed that.
moment we
Ooh.
do that, we have become God.
Yeah, we've discussed that, how we, you know, you can look at something, and I'm not saying this is how it is,
Right.
but, you know, generalize. You can look at something and say, well, that right there is the worst thing. But I can look at it and be like, well, but it's still a sin.
Right,
You know, sin is a sin. Like, there's only one sin that outweighs all of them.
Right.
We've discussed that. You know, like, well, you may think that that's like the worst thing ever, but that doesn't, you know, but I think this is.
Right.
Instead, you know, or, well, that's not even a bad thing, but it is, you know.
and I have found over the years that a lot of times, you can determine how a person feels about it by how they react to it. We are living in a time where left-handed cigarettes are becoming ever more popular and less litigated, so to
Yep.
speak. But 20 years ago, well, such and such got arrested and went to jail. Well, what for? Well, they had, you know, some grass on them. It's just pot. I'm like, well, it's just illegal. Yeah, but it's just pot. Well, you can legally buy and drink beer, but you can't do it under certain circumstances. So are you going to tell the judge, well, it was just beer? You know, but you can tell a lot by, and this is where people are drawing their own personal conclusions. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't bring that up to argue whether it should or should not be
Just
legalized.
an example.
The whole point is, you know, if it's illegal, then it's illegal whether you like it or not.
Right.
And the same thing applies with sin. Sin is morally wrong whether you agree with it, whether it bothers you. It doesn't matter if your friend does it or if you do it yourself. A sin is a sin is a sin.
Whether
You
do it
know.
or I do it.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think we brought this up last week. Most of us here in Western society would say that cannibalism is morally wrong.
Yes.
But there's island tribes and whatnot.
We're not, just ignore it.
Well, no, I'm not ignoring. I won't put it on hold.
This
Yeah.
it's not podcast friendly.
Right, right. But there are tribes over the years where that was completely normal.
She hit me.
Was it on camera?
Probably. No, his
No,
arm's not on
no.
camera.
Well, unfortunately, at this point, it's hearsay. But would we look at those tribes and say that they were immoral? And a lot of people would say no because their morality is different. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Something is either moral or it's not. When we start trying to subdivide, well, it depends on the circumstance and the situation. I don't care. Stealing is stealing. It doesn't matter if you're hungry or if you're greedy. Stealing is stealing.
Yeah, when I worked
The
for
there
Dollar
there
General.
are a few things, like I would say that murder is morally wrong, but I think it is accurate to define what I'm talking about. The shedding of innocent blood. That's, to me, that's not the same thing as somebody else was trying to kill me and I just happened to win. You know, like I don't classify that as murder. Um, but the taking of an innocent life, I would consider murder. Now, there's other folks that would lump all that together. That's fine. I'm telling you where I'm at with it.
Right.
But we like to add our own personal. Well, it really doesn't, you know. And like I've talked to people of different sexual orientations and whatnot, and I don't say any of this to hate, but I can separate my personal feelings from my scriptural beliefs. You know, and on a personal note, what you do over there in the business of your own home is none of my business, as
Right.
long as you're not hurting somebody else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Um, but if you're going to ask me whether or not I think it's moral or biblically wrong, I'm going to come at you from a Judeo Christian point of view.
Yeah.
You know, now, like I said, but from a personal aspect, your business is your business. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you're not going to make me say that it's all right because you like it.
Yeah.
You know,
do
like,
you, but don't drag me into it.
and that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I love you, but I'm not gonna
But at the
do
same
what
point
you
in
do,
time,
kind of thing.
right? But at the same point in time, I can't bring myself, like, if certain things came up on the ballot, do I think X, Y, Z should be decriminalized, or there would probably be some things where I would leave that up to the individual, but there's going to be some other things that I'm going to put a big fat no on. You know, there's certain things like I just, you're not going to get me on board with expanded socialism. Taxation through majority vote is still stealing. It does, you know, like if the three of us voted to steal something out of this room, okay, well, that's democracy, but it's still stealing,
Right.
you know, so.
Which we're not gonna do.
Well, and I'm just, as an example, it's, you're not going to get me, you know, like I'm not going to cast a vote to expand socialism because it's going to, you have to take it from somebody first, you know, and what they've been trying to do over the last, I don't know, 20 years is borrow and print their way,
Yeah.
which is why a $20,000 truck now costs $80,000. So congratulations, it gets worse by trying to make it better, so to speak. So there we are.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I'll say this for the record, like for the podcast, I try not to get political, but sometimes things do get brought up. I don't want to use this platform to talk about that platform,
Right.
but
But sometimes it does kind of go.
well, and that's where I'm at with it,
Hand in
is
hand.
in polite society, they tell you not to talk about politics or religion. And to me, that is the dumbest advice you could ever give, because your core foundational beliefs is what's going to dictate your entire life, which falls right into politics and religion. You do need to be able to talk about it. You just need to be able to hear an opinion that's different than yours. You know, I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but you need to be able to at least hear it.
Right.
You know,
And just because you don't agree doesn't mean, oh, we're enemies now.
No.
I don't agree with you, so I don't like you no more.
oh, we got certain folks that turn into Hare Krishnas. Like, you say something they don't like, and they just, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
you know.
like I don't. Just because we disagree doesn't mean I hate you. Like,
Right.
we can still be friends and disagree.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's kind of how it's supposed to work. Like, we're not going to agree with everybody 100% of the time. So.
No, and there's a certain aspect where, like, I can totally understand if somebody is on a completely different moral level. I
Right.
can, you know, I can see a certain aspect of that, but again, I'm going to go back to who sets the standard of the morals. Because if they're all subjective,
Yep.
my philosophy is if morality is subjective, then there is no moral high ground. You just like your opinion better than you like theirs.
Right.
You know, that's no high ground. You can't denounce theirs because it's subjective. You know, but I don't think a lot of folks are ready for that conversation.
No.
They need it.
Well,
But-
and you know, eventually we'll probably have that conversation on here.
Oh, I've been having it for years.
Well, but that's the point of this is to have those tough
Right.
talks, you know, but to do it in a loving and showing God's grace,
Right.
in a loving way, showing God's grace and mercy.
I mean, I can't just tell them they're wrong,
I mean, we can, but it will go.
but I can say it lovingly, right?
We
Yes,
could turn
I
into
mean-
Steve Wilkes show.
We could, yeah. Yeah.
You are not the sorry. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're called to do, though. We're called to have those tough conversations.
We honestly are.
And we can't sugarcoat it. And I was about to say something else. We can't sugarcoat it, and
No blowing smoke up the rear end.
walk
You're
on
trying to figure out
eggshells.
what she was going to say.
Walk on eggshells around it, and but we are to come in a loving way. We're not to condemn.
So I can
Right.
take
That
the,
is not our
I can't take the
job.
filter off.
What filter?
Oh. So I got to put the filter on.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming at it in a way of not to condemn, because that's not our job. We don't condemn
Oh,
them, but we
okay.
try to teach them God's word, and
Okay.
it's
Oh,
hard
okay.
for a lot of people to see it and hear it that way. They hear, "Well, you're putting me down, you're coming at me," and they do take it personally, and I understand that
I do.
because I've been in that
Nobody
position.
likes to hear correction.
Exactly.
Nobody does.
But there's a way to do it without making them feel even worse about things.
Sometimes.
And
Like some people just ain't going to listen.
no, they're not. But I'm just saying for us, there's a way for us to do it. I'm not how
Right.
they perceive it. That's on them.
Yeah, I can recall
I don't-
a certain church over the years getting a lot of bad publicity.
Aw.
And my thing is, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. Whether they were right or wrong, I do believe that there was a different manner that they could have gone about it,
Yes.
And until I dive into the exactness of what they were doing and saying, I'm not going to say whether they was right or wrong, because again, I kind of skimmed over it,
Yeah.
But again, my feelings about it is whether they were right or wrong, they could have gone about it in a different way.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I firmly believe that a lot of times as Christians, we take the path of least resistance, where we would have literally told David to pray for Goliath rather than pick up 5 stones.
Yeah. They take that turn the other cheek very literal.
In a lot of ways, and the stupid thing is they don't understand what that means either.
It's okay. It's okay. You didn't mean to.
But
It's okay.
but we're not called to do that. We're called to be bold in our faith. We're
Mhm.
called to preach boldly. Do you think the apostles held back?
No.
I mean, that's what we're called to
I mean,
do.
in many instances, they took beatings.
Yeah. I mean, we're called to be more like Jesus. Jesus didn't hold back.
Nope.
He didn't. I almost said it again.
So do you think Jesus would attend a church that ordained a minister, a gay minister?
I don't know how Jesus would have, like I don't want to speak on Jesus's behalf.
Right.
We can't do that. I think he probably would have showed up to try to show, because I mean, even he showed up in his own hometown and tried to show the, love and the
And-
message and stuff. And then, but he
Not,
also
not
knew-
everybody is going to receive it.
Yeah, and he knew that, and he's like, yeah, I can't. You're not going to receive the blessings that I have for you because you're not wanting to hear it.
And
So-
and that's where I'm at. If there is a church that is actively promoting or preaching anti-scriptural or a different interpretation of Scripture. I don't know specifically how Jesus himself, if he would walk in there. I don't know, like he might flip tables and chase with whips.
I think he'd walk in and be like, "What's up?"
You know, he might treat them like he did the Pharisees and
Yeah.
call them hypocrites and snakes and vipers and liars, and he,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he might try to reach them in love, and
Give him a chance.
But
well,
he-
and
But here's the thing: Jesus knew what we don't. He knows the heart.
well, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know specifically how Jesus would handle that specific scenario because I don't know what Jesus would do in that specific scenario. I do
He
not
wouldn't.
think.
I don't think he would tolerate it.
Well,
to that
there's
extent.
that is if you go through the Bible and you look at aspects of where it actually talks about tolerance, I don't mean people trying to read tolerance into it. I mean where it actually speaks about tolerance, it's almost always used in a negative aspect. Like you are not supposed to tolerate this BS.
Yeah.
And I would
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
anybody who feels differently, I would say, what is it about Revelation 2 where it
Yeah.
speaks about the letters to the 12 churches?
Yeah.
Yes.
Read real hard into that.
Mm-hmm. Like you did great at this, but you know what? You failed miserably on this part.
Well,
kind of
what
thing. And-
kills me is a lot of people will use the aspect of like the woman caught in adultery. Hey, he who's without sin cast the first stone, and they will stop there.
But he said, "Go and sin no more."
They don't want to add that part to it. They want to stop just before that where he did not condemn her, and he stopped the others from throwing stones. That's where they want to stop. They don't want to add, hey, you're at the FO part of FA.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Like I mean, I'm gonna give you a chance here, but don't do it again. I mean, it's
Right.
like with our, you know, us as parents, we're like,
Well, and
you know, you do that again, you might get
there
your butt
there's
spanked.
other aspects that get me. You know, and it shows where we are as humans. When Jesus talked to the lady at the well, let's see, she was like outcast from the Jews. What was Samaritan?
Maybe.
I don't remember the specifics, but basically, culturally, he was not supposed to be talking to her, and vice versa. But he read off every sin that she'd done wrong, you know, so in modern times, he judged her,
Yeah.
but he offered her living water, you know. But he also said, don't tell anybody. And the first thing she did was run back to town and told
Well, not
everybody.
everybody, yeah.
Which shows exactly how well we listen. Now, I know that Jesus knew that she was going to do that. You know, like I don't think he was surprised. But it shows where we are as people. God says don't do this. What do? We do it anyways.
It's like our kids.
Well, and that's honestly where we're at. You know, in comparison, I've heard a lot of people criticize, you know, that we refer to God as Heavenly Father like we got some kind of sky daddy. Yeah, I've heard that, and
Sorry.
it's always used in a manner of derision, and I'm like, have you ever tried to raise kids? Do they listen all the time? Do they do what they're supposed to do even after they've been told? Like, do they always do it to the letter? You know, I would actually, like I have brought this up, and I don't think kids are evil by any means. But the people that believe, you know, that humanity is basically good, and if something goes wrong, you either made a mistake or somebody made you evil. I'm like, have you even raised kids before?
Yeah.
There are children that are very kind, very loving, they're kind-hearted growing up, but in infant stages, are you telling me that they won't bite you? Are you telling me that they won't get very selfish and pull hair? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Smack you in the face.
exactly.
Might not be dealing with the little 3-year-old temper tantrums right now.
Well, and I'm just saying that, like even the children that are very kind-hearted, there is a period of growing up where, no, all by themselves, they learn how to be mean and selfish. That wasn't taught to them. They already had that,
Yep.
So you're not going to convince me that the worldly idea that people are basically good but sometimes screw up. No, the biblical narrative, like we are born in sin. That is more easily demonstrated.
When besides no, I don't want it, or no, I don't want to. Grace's other favorite thing is that's mine as she rips it from me. And I didn't teach her that.
Right.
But we're at that stage of she's 3. We're at
Right.
that stage, and it's been fun.
Oh, I bet.
It's been fun. So yeah. So we essentially act like sheep trying to manage the entire field. We try to manage our own lives, So, another reflection is where do you need to stop controlling and trusting the shepherd's lead? And where is your lack mindset driving you? That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, these are like kind of makes you stop and think, like, But
Well, I mean, I can tell you where it's going to set you right out of the garden.
Yep.
Where we put our time, effort, energy, attention, money, whatever consumes the most of us becomes our God, period. And like I said,
Where your treasure is, that's where your heart shall be.
well, and again, I'm not saying that people don't need to work. I'm not saying that earning a, more than scrape by the skin of your teeth wage is a bad thing. I'm not saying any of that. Wanting something that does not belong to you is a problem.
It's actually one of the
What they would call the seven deadly sins. Being envious of others, being
That's the
jealous
word.
of others.
Envy.
There's so much of it that, I mean, you can call it ambition, but is it really? So, and we can BS ourselves all day long. Christ knows our heart.
Yeah, that lack of mindset, we tend to find ourselves in a very negative mood too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it affects our, we start complaining about what we don't have.
Well, it's because we're focused on the negative.
Yep, and we're bitter about it, and I don't have this and I don't have that, and that's when we need to take a step back and re-anchor ourselves. I used to, and I've discussed this on here. I used to be a very negative person. It was always I saw all the bad, all the bad, and I even had a pastor at one point tell me, he was like, "Why is it every time I talk to you, you have nothing good to say?" He's like, "Is your life really that bad?"
Well, if you're focused on the negative, yes.
And I was just like, "But you don't understand. Like, you don't know what." He's like, "No. Is your life really that bad?" And I was just like, "To me, it is."
Right.
And at the time, it's like I wasn't getting what he was saying.
Well, and we have this stupid thing in our heads that, like, nobody knows what we're going through. Like, nobody else has ever made stupid decisions or had a hard time before.
Right. Like, I'm the only one that's ever had this, like, and it's not. We all struggle at some point in our lives, and when you focus just on that struggle, then, yeah, you're going to have that. And I had been through so much of my life at that point, because I've shared my testimony on here. That's all I had was I expected the worst. Well, look, all this bad stuff that happened to me, that's just my life. That's how it's going to be.
Well, and unfortunately, that mindset, it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And he did a lesson on actually looking at the positives and stuff,
Right.
And he preached on it one Sunday, and of course I took the notes and everything, and of course the more I thought about it, I realized what he was trying to say to me.
Right.
You think you have a bad life because you're not focusing on what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he said was, I want to challenge you. Find one positive thing each day. Especially if something has gone bad, think about a positive thing that happened in that. You got a flat tire? Oh, but you had a spare.
Right.
You know?
I think it was Nietzsche that said, if you truly believe that somebody is ruining your life, you are correct. It's you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But we like to play the victim.
Yeah. And so, I started, and it's not easy to flip that, flip that
No, it's
switch.
not.
It is not easy. And I had to work hard at it. But I started focusing on a positive here
Mhm.
and a positive there. And, and before I knew it, I just do it now.
Right,
I don't even realize it until, like he said with, hey, this is happening. Well, how much is it going to cost to fix it? That's
right,
cheaper than doing this, find a positive in it. Hey, we still have a car, like we have backups that we can get fixed that won't cost as much as buying a new one.
right.
And like he told me he had 4 jobs scheduled one day. And I was like, well, that's good. And he's like, no, I normally have like 6. And I'm like, but last week you had 2.
Right.
So I'm like, 4 is better than 2.
Oh, yeah.
I
yeah.
know it's not what you're used to, but that's better than what you had. So,
Right.
and I find myself, and I even realize, like, I just do it. It comes naturally
Mhm.
now, and even when I do have that, we're really struggling moment, I still try to, and I find myself kind of, I re-anchor myself, like I said, re-anchor yourself. Start focusing on, keep God in the focus.
Right.
Everything else will fall into place. One way or the other, it's gonna fall into place. And that's kind of like verse 1 is like, you got to remind yourself, the Lord is my shepherd. Therefore, I lack nothing of true value right now.
And I think it would be good to add the footnote, the Lord, for that to take root, for that to hit home. The Lord actually needs to be your Lord and your shepherd,
Absolutely.
you know. But we have this tendency of when things go good, it's because I'm awesome, and when things go bad, it's because God hates me.
Yep.
Why God? Why me?
Right.
Well, and that's one reason why I wanted to focus on the very beginning of this, who the Lord
Oh
is.
no, I like picking stuff apart,
Yeah,
line by
that's,
line, word by word.
Because if we don't acknowledge who the Lord is in this verse, then none of this is going to matter.
Well, and that what gets me about it, and I do think it ties directly to it. One of the biggest problems for non-believers is, well, how can God be all good if there's death and suffering in the world? Okay, fine. Let's pretend there is no God. Is there still death and suffering in the world? Yes. Okay, well, whose fault is it now? If you can't blame God for it, who's responsible?
And how do we know that death isn't to prevent suffering?
Well, and a lot of times we don't.
Exactly.
You know.
We don't, because we're not God.
We can't see past step 2 or 3.
We don't know.
You know.
And maybe he saw a life ahead of this person that, was going to be like the most horrible thing. So he's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to bring you home early so you don't have to deal with that. And like, you're sick and you're dying. It's maybe it's a mercy thing.
It very well could be,
But we don't know because
we
not God.
don't, and it is hard to grasp because we want what we want, when like if somebody is sick and I pray for their healing, I rarely want them to die in a mercy death.
Right.
You know what I mean? Both my grandfathers died of cancer. One of them went really quick. Like we really didn't know. He didn't explain things. I think he spent a week in the hospital and he was done.
Wow.
But I have no idea how long he had it.
I think I remember that.
My other grandfather was in and out of the hospital for several years, and it finally got to a point where it's like, God, I do want him healed and made whole, but I also want the suffering to end.
Right.
So, it's not that I want him to go, but he's turning into somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like, who wants to watch somebody else go through that? You know, and it's not that I want anybody to go. That's not what I'm saying. I've heard people have that same struggle when a family member gets Alzheimer's. You know, you literally watch them become somebody that you no longer know, and they definitely don't know you. And again, it's not that anybody wants somebody to go, but
What kind of life is it?
well, and for the person with Alzheimer's, I have no idea. Like,
Right.
I have no idea what their cognition even is. I do know that their memory goes and all that. And it might even be that they get to a point where they're not even aware of where they're at, you know? So for me, it's not a mercy killing for them, it's a mercy for us.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure if that's fair or not, you know?
No, with of course, you know I was adopted by my uncle,
Right,
and anybody who wants to know more of the backstory, they can go back to where I gave my testimony. It kind of gives you an idea there. He had stage 4 cancer.
right,
Um, I know, thank the good Lord, I was able to heal and forgive him before he passed away for what he did to me.
right,
He was in the hospital. I remember, of course, he couldn't really talk at this point. Like, he was pretty much, you know. And I remember walking up to his bed, and I grabbed his hand. And he just looked at me and kind of teared up and squeezed his hand. It's like he knew. I didn't have
Right.
to say the words. He just knew, you know. And my family will probably, well, they already don't like me, so it's okay. Because, you know, I told the truth, so it's okay.
right,
But this was probably one of the hardest working, and, you know, and I have, you know the backstory of the abuse. But that man worked hard for his family.
right,
Even when he was disabled, back surgery stuff, that man still worked.
Right.
You know? So seeing him like that,
right,
I was praying that God took him because he wasn't living anymore.
right,
The cancer had went to his brain. He was not him anymore. He had lost so much weight. He was so skinny. He wasn't eating. He wasn't, you know, it was just, the chemo was killing him.
Well, and I think it is something, I know we're running short on time, but I think it is something for people, we really need to reflect on long-term things. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I have never really heard of anybody on their deathbed to be grateful for all the crap they bought, or the degrees on the wall, or all the people that they've slept with, or, you know, whatever it is that we spend our lives doing.
Those
Most
idols
of them want more time with family. And
it, you know, we put these idols,
yes,
and that's what they are. They're idols, whether it be money or materialistic things or
self,
whatever. It's
You know.
idols that we put before God. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think that they sit there and like, oh, I wish I would have had more money to spend on this, you know.
Right.
It's I wish I had more time with family. I want my family here. I want this here. You know, it's, you know, but I really think he was ready to go. And I mean, I did. I prayed that, and I was like, you know, it's your will, Lord. It's not mine. But he's
well,
not
and,
living.
and to me, it ties in, a schoolmate of ours passed, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And I remember the social media post, oh, he was great, this and that, blah, which I'm not saying that anybody was wrong about that. But after about, I don't know, 100 of those, which one of y'all told him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where I'm at with it, is saying how great a person was or what they meant to you after the fact.
Where were you when they were alive?
Right. You know, like, if you don't tell them they're amazing when they're alive, keep your mouth shut after they go.
Yep.
You know, because it's all you're doing is making yourself feel better now.
Yep.
You know, they went without that knowledge. You know.
Make yourself look good to everybody else.
Because we're
Well, and I don't think a lot of people are malicious, you know, intentionally malicious about it, but it's
we get focused on self.
right.
Our wants, our desires, our, you know, me, and we don't, you know. And,
Right.
I mean, you know that I had, like, we had somebody I went to school with who I was really close to, you know, and we talked all the time, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
nothing. And, you know, and I was like, oh, he's just busy with his kids. It's this, you know, but I never took that
Right.
step to reach out either after that. But I was just like, oh, you know, and I did a couple of times, you know, but I didn't get nothing back. And I'm like, oh, you know, and then I find out, you know, several days later that he'd passed. And I
Right.
was like, you know, and you get that thought, well, these last
Well, what a butthole. He didn't call and tell me.
and I really did. I was like, he didn't even tell me he was in the hospital, and I kind of got mad about it. At
Right.
first. I did. I was like, I'm mad at him. Why didn't he tell me? Because we were close. Why am I finding out this way? Like,
Right.
he should have told me. He'd been in hospice for a while. Like, he'd been in the hospital for a while. Like, you know,
Right.
for at least a week that I know of. I'm like, why? Why was I not told? But then I was just like, you know what? He was focused on his kids.
Right.
You know, somebody had to take care of his kids. Somebody had to take care of his sister, who could, you know, he helped take care of.
There were bigger things on his plate.
Exactly,
You
you know, but in the moment, I was like I was mad at him, and you could ask him. I was like, why? Why did he not tell me? Because I cared,
Right.
you know. But at the same time, but it goes back to, you know, it wasn't about me. It's about what he needed for his family,
Right.
and that was his focus. And you know, but I kind of was like, you know, these last 2 months, I could have worked harder
Right.
to reach out to him and stuff. It might not have made a difference. He may have been so sick he couldn't responded, you know. That might have been the issue. He was in and out of the hospital a
Well,
lot.
but I do think that gives us something to think about. Because when somebody passes, we always look at, well, I could have done this, or I could have done that, or whatever. Do it now.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. And that's why I was sharing that, because, you know, and I told him, I was like, I should have reached out sooner. I
Right.
should have, you know, he didn't reach back to me, and I let it go, and I should have just kept messaging until, you know,
Right.
I should have let him know that, you know, I was still there and I still cared, you know.
Right.
And you know, you think about that, hindsight's 2020, they say, you know. But yeah, that kind of went with that. That's why I
Mhm.
shared that.
Right.
know,
Right.
and,
Right.
You know, I struggled with that for a little bit with myself, you know. But again, that goes back. You've got to forgive
Well, we all,
yourself.
you know, right.
You know, and I'm trying. Like, I've got another friend who is fighting cancer, and she has decided to quit treatment. And she's like, well, everybody quit talking to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to you in a minute, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to avoid you or not talk to you. I've got to get better at that. You know, that's a me thing. I've got to get better at that. And, you know, we are so focused and consumed on our lives that we tend to forget other people
Oh, we
around us
do.
sometimes. And, you
We
know,
do. You know, we're so worried about living our best life, but again, I've never heard of anybody on the deathbed, you know, like, well, I'm so thankful that, you know, I did this rather than that or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. Like my grandmother is getting close. She's been waiting on it for a little while now, and you know, she will say, you know, like that she's thankful that like they took more vacations in their younger years rather than, you know, they're like, once you retire, you've only got so many years where you feel like even doing certain things.
but this still goes back to spending time with family.
Well, and that's what she was saying is, you know, like she was glad she has those memories and experiences with my grandfather and whatnot, that they were able to do those things. And that's how she describes it. You know, it's not, well, we got to go to this place and see that. It's always a they, them, you know.
And that's something that he and I have been discussing the last couple of years. Like, it's been a minute since we've had a vacation. It's not that I want to. I just want to do stuff with the kids. I want
Right.
to, you know, have them experience life some. You know, Grace is getting older now. She's 3.
Right.
You know, she's getting old enough that she can start remembering things, and I want her to have those memories too.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, it's not about having to go somewhere. I mean, it's more about the memories and the spending time together,
Right.
and not stressing about everyday life, and you know, just being able to go and
Unplug and
enjoy,
recharge.
enjoy life, and enjoy our, you know, us as a family.
Right.
And you know, every time we start trying to plan, you know, things happen, but you know. So, you know, that's why we were discussing with you, hey, you know,
Right.
maybe this is an option for next year.
Right,
know,
right,
we
right.
can get caught up in some things and start saving some money, and you know, you wanted to join us and,
Right.
you know, but yeah, I don't know. It just, I think this whole thing, just breaking it down like this, I've never broken it down like this before. And it just makes you kind of stop and think and, you know, where do we put our value? And are we trying to be God? And, or is it, you know,
Yes.
yes, I know that, yes.
You know,
We're trying to do his job and we need to step back and we need to, you know,
en-
focus
entirely too often.
focus on him and stop thinking about all the worldly desires that we have and, you know, hey, what I have is enough. What I have is enough. I mean, I think we all would like more, but we need to be happy with what we've got.
That honestly is the secret from a Christian standpoint is contentedness, joy. It's not that everything is amazing. It's that we realize that we honestly could have it worse. I can't remember which book of the Bible. I want to say it was Romans, but Paul's hanging in a Roman sewer and he says, rejoice. Most of us are not hanging in a sewer. And if he can say rejoice and we're always complaining, we have a perspective problem and a perception problem. You know, my understanding is that when Paul was finally beheaded, he was mostly crippled. I mean, he went through what, 2, 3 shipwrecks, I don't know how many stonings, beatings, and he said rejoice. You know, he didn't say, well, you know, I ran my race, but I tripped and fell about 1,000 times, and I would have liked it better, you know, if I had more stuff, or, you know, maybe had eaten steak every night rather than trail food, you know. I don't know if there's really a spot in there where you can really catch Paul complaining. You know, now I know there's a few individual spots where, you know, like he talked about, was it the thorn in his side or whatever?
Yeah.
But it's only a brief instance, you know, like there's no chapter based on his thorn.
Well, I mean, even Jesus was like, Father, if you can let this pass from me, you know, even he was.
Yeah, he knew what was coming. He's like, boy, I really don't want to do this.
Exactly.
You know?
So I think we all have those moments and that's okay. We just got to make
Change our
sure-
focus.
Yes. And, you know, like the apostles that were in jail and they were singing and when the angels came and opened the, was that the same story? The angels came and opened the gates. There was a loud shake or something and the gates
I think that's in
opened,
Acts, yeah.
And, you know, they escaped and no one knew where they went.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And they showed up at the house and they're knocking on the door and they're like, it's their ghost, you know?
Right. But, you know, what was another one where it was either Peter or Paul was locked up and he had the chance to get out and stayed and ministered to his jailer,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, look, Joseph. Look at Joseph.
Yeah. He had every right to be angry and bitter.
Like he was sold into slavery by his brothers. Then he was locked up for something he didn't do. And then he could, you know, interpret the dreams. And then he's like, hey, don't forget about me. And what would happen?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. And like, again, I'm focused on me. I'm free. You don't
Right.
matter no more kind of thing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that he didn't matter. It was more of, hey, I'm free. I'm going to focus on my life now, you know? And that's what we tend to do.
Yeah, we do. I do think we're going to have to wrap it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to add? We've kind of just ignored you.
That's okay.
I can put you on the spot. What do you think about it?
Yes.
Unless it's a no, and then no, right?
Next week it says we should go to verse 2, but we got some verses that we will share, and then we'll go to verse 2. That kind of
Tie in,
Yes,
yeah.
to it.
As it should.
Ezekiel and a couple others that we'll share that I have actually that I can bring up, but we'll do that next week.
I had the idea, hey, why don't we type out the verses that we're going over and you can pull it up on the screen so if, you know, somebody's there and they don't have the Bible or whatever, they can
Right,
see
right,
it.
right.
And so he actually did that tonight. And then, you know, I didn't allow him to do it. Look at me, just taking over. And
Stop playing God.
I know. Like, he could have stopped me, though, and interrupted me anytime.
I was enjoying her doing it tonight. I was just sitting here chilling, dealing with son I don't know. He's having hot flashes.
Are you
See,
pregnant?
That's what I asked.
He's like, I'm feeling nauseous. I feel like I'm like after I throw up. I feel like that's what he said. He said like I feel like I do right after I throw up, but like I still feel like I've got to throw up. And he's like morning sickness. He goes, it's not morning. Oh, and I'm not pregnant. I was like, oh, make sure we had that one in
Right,
there.
right.
He's like, now I'm freezing, and I'm like,
Are you sure you're not pregnant?
like.
He's on the couch covered in a blanket, so which is it?
Right.
He's probably sitting right. It got cooler outside, so it's cooler in the house, and that AC is probably blowing straight on him because we've got a window unit. It's like right there, and it blows straight on the couch. So you know, it gets cold in there sometimes. Like you know, they should be thankful that it's cold in there and not hot like it
Has he
has
got
been.
sunburnt?
No,
No.
not able.
No.
No.
I'm just
He's
bringing
gonna
it.
be outside more than 5 minutes.
Right.
I love my son. Bless his heart.
He really doesn't care, does he? You know, like, hey, when we were your age, we had dirt and we was thankful to have it.
Yes.
Hey,
We
I
ate-
made some dang good mud pies.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
The
I
dark-
even made it birthday cakes and had the little sticks
Mhm.
on top, and
The darker the mud, the better it tasted.
Right.
just saying, I don't know that I ever ate them.
Oh, you weren't supposed to eat it?
No, I
Oh.
made them, but we didn't eat
Watch,
it.
watch for peanuts
Yeah.
or corn.
It came from the rabbit cage.
Right.
And that yellow snow too. Come on now.
That's lemon.
Or the brown snow.
Purple. We had purple snow. We don't know what that was. Dad never told us what it was.
Purple snow?
Snow?
Yeah. It's under the diesel.
Oh well, then
Hmm.
yeah, that would be probably yeah, fluid dripping from.
No. It didn't leak.
Did he just comment?
Gates' phone's going straight to voicemail again. Freaking iPhone.
Now I feel cold, but I'm still burning up.
Well, guys, we got any more we're going to add to this?
No, but I do have a graphic I will share with everybody.
Yeah. Is it graphic?
Could be. She made it. If it is, it's her fault.
Yeah.
I love my wife.
It's gonna be at the end. You know, it's basically thank you for joining us, and you know, follow, like, share,
Read your Bible.
read your Bible. That's
Bible.
the biggest thing. You know.
Oh, I do want to put and they're not paying me to say this. They don't want me to say this, but we have discovered a new app. It's a Bible app called Creed. It's kind of
It's actually pretty cool.
cool. It's a lamb.
You
Is
know.
it a lamb?
It's a sheep.
A sheep.
Imagine that, right?
Weird.
How convenient.
Mine's named Lamb Chops.
It tells you to name your sheep. Of course, you know, me being me, I named it Daddy.
Right, right.
Why, I don't know, but I did. Just, you know,
There's a free version and there's a paid version.
Yeah.
And with the paid version, of course, you get
she
more.
actually
but
talks to you when you like you're talking like we are right now.
You
Right.
can set the voice for it too, and
Hers is British. No, that was your Google.
that was my Google.
Or Google's
But
British.
there's like little tasks that you can do. It helps you stay with the Bible. There's like a prayer journal. There's a daily journal. There's
So neat stuff to check out.
yes, a lot of cool stuff. And you actually, when you do it, you get coins, and you use that coins to upgrade your sheep in new clothing and Bibles. It carries a Bible, and like it's pretty cool. It's pretty
I don't
neat.
know about that.
Yeah.
Worth looking into.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We've got the free version, of course, but you
Right.
know. And it's actually, even for the yearly, it's not that
It's only
expensive.
$60 a year.
Yeah.
70,
No.
60,
It's
70.
cheaper to do the yearly than it is, and you get a week free when you do the yearly.
Right.
Otherwise, I think it was like $10 a month, something like that. But yeah, you know, it's not a promotional thing. It's just something that we found that
Right, right,
we
right.
think's pretty neat, and you can do a reminder. And actually, on my phone, I got it set up where I get the daily Bible verse on it too. I don't know if you can see that, but it pops up on my home screen.
Right, right.
Huh.
And every day it shows up. Well, now it's off, but yeah, there we go. I hit a button, but yeah.
Yeah.
A little daily verse it pops up, and yeah, that's lamb chop.
Right.
It's pretty
So
neat.
yeah, we'll definitely see y'all next week.
Alrighty.
Y'all pray for us, and we'll pray for y'all.
And then.
I'm definitely gonna say this out loud. I've been praying about my job situation.
So prayers for guidance.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to say
absolutely.
anything out loud right now.
No, no.
Just
Just guidance.
guidance that we get busier, because evidently it's not just our dealership, it's a couple in the same strip that we work on. Ford
Right.
dealership, the Chevy dealership. It wouldn't be for a bunch of recalls right now, we'd be slow.
Right.
Thank God for recalls, literally.
Well, on that
I hate
aspect,
that,
yes.
but
You know, but
even though
it-
they're .3s and .4s and .5s.
right, right.
But
But at the same
adds
point in
up.
time, you know, they don't build product like they used to.
no,
And the downside of the dealer network is once it's out of warranty, when you look at the cost of a payment and the insurance, a lot of people, like, they're not going to be bringing it back to the dealership for repairs. They can't, unless it's a dealer-only thing, can't afford it. It's twice the
No.
labor rate,
yes,
you know? My personal feelings, again, if manufacturers built things that lasted like they used to, and don't get me wrong, your average sixties vehicle was not getting 300,000 miles,
no,
but it did last for 20 years.
yes.
We had a neon that had 300,000 miles on it.
323 when we traded her in.
Yep. And
Well,
she
it-
was still kicking.
Which is honestly a surprise given the platform,
Yeah.
you know? But, no, but no, we will pray for guidance in that situation, and
And if any of y'all need prayer requests, don't hesitate reaching out. Put it on the comment thread. Reach out to us.
it's helpful if you give us as much information as you are willing to share.
Yes, yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that we will disclose that information. I firmly believe that prayer works better if you have more information to work with. You know, I'm not a big fan of those generic prayer requests, God knows why. I'm like, okay, well, they asked for prayers to God.
you
There they
go.
are, you know, and I don't know much else to do with it at that point.
And also, if you're on the YouTube channel, you can comment on the YouTube channel. We will get the notification.
And if you're on Facebook, reach and you don't want to put it out there, put it, private message us.
Yes.
We're all on there.
Yes. Chris is not, but we'll notify him.
And
Dunk.
I guess we need to start putting like an email address up there just
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Table talk, what is it?
Well, do you want to do table talk or the other one?
What other one?
Mine, the blessings.
Let's do that one, I'm fine.
I don't know what it is. My brain just stopped. That's what I thought. Okay. Of course, I'm commenting as you for some reason.
I think because you're signed in.
I
Not me.
think I might be something.
Well, it actually popped up under the both of you.
Did it?
Yeah.
It's just showing Kenneth on my side.
Yeah, it came up as Kenneth and the missus. Or the,
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I may just put Mrs. and take the
Probably 'cause
off.
you logged in on me on
Right.
It's okay. All right, well, here's a graphic, and we'll see y'all next week.
take care.